How do you guys feel about the games that are currently available?
Like, aside from the ones that we got?
Yes, any of the games on the marketplace currently?
I'm going to leave this to him because I haven't done much research past the games that it came with.
Looking through the Steam store, honestly, a lot of the games that it came with seem similar in scale to the ones that we got. Like, there's no real equivalent to, like, The Witcher 3 or Fallout 4. Most of them are like, oh, look, I played this game for 2 hours. It's pretty cool. Like, a lot of them, there don't seem to be any full-scale games yet. Most of them seem like they're limited experiences, which, I mean, it makes sense because it's a new kind of technology that people need to learn how to use, and you're in a limited space, so that's something that people need to figure out how to best adapt your limited physical space to a game world. But honestly, there's not really anything that I can point to and say, this is the amazing game that you should buy that would show it off. That would probably be the lab. And when the biggest selling point for your $800 piece of hardware is a free collection of demos, it's an indication that you might want to wait a few months and see what people make before you invest in it.
How did you guys feel about the non-VR functionality?
Gaming with it. We'll get to that in a minute. For watching a movie or something, it'd be great. I mean, you're just like in a little personal movie theater. Except there's no one else in the way, which is why I said personal
It's
movie
an
theater.
extremely personal movie theater. The video quality, like watching movies, is noticeably less than regular monitor. Like, it's not unwatchable, but it's definitely like a step or two below your TV, depending on how bad your current TV is.
Have you ever sat in the front row? I'm not talking about the front row. I'm talking like the handicapped front row at some theaters. A movie.
Oh, yeah. Once you set it up for room scale, if you try and sit down in front of your computer, it wants the screen to be at eye level standing in the middle, not eye level sitting right in front of your computer. And so it ends up assuming that you're about 3 feet taller than you are. If you're the kind of person that like games in your high chair, you probably aren't going to have any problems, but we haven't found a high chair big enough for us. So,
I mean, if you want to pull a ladder out in your room and kind of lean over the top and game with a keyboard and mouse on like the paint tray part,
then you could be looking down into the theater.
Speaking of gaming with it, I played some CSGO with it. You really need to do some adjusting to the room scale, but it probably still wouldn't be worth it, honestly. I didn't do terrible, but I was going against hard level bots, which sometimes are wonky. Aiming is odd because your centered view is this far below the actual reticle, so you're looking up, and your reticle in the game is up here. You can't really get a feel for centered, I'm going to shoot that person from that kind of view. That's the main problem that I had with it.
Which, I mean, you can adjust it, and then you'll have game immediately in front of you, which
is stupid, and it's hard to do when you want to switch room setups every time.
Every single time you do it, it's like, I'm going to redo this, but is it a curved monitor? Kinda?
I would say that it had a slight curve to it, virtually.
What are some unique selling points, or what is the most appealing aspect
Of the Vive. Like, not virtual reality.
of the Vive?
Yeah, Vive in particular. I like the blue lines. You don't know what that is. At no point do we explain that. When you set it up, it asks you to walk around the amount of playable space that you have. And then when you're actually playing the game, if you get too close, it throws up a little grid in the world. That goes a long way towards making you not be concerned about
punching a TV.
I mean, you can still punch the TV, depending on how widely you swing your arms, but I think it really only has tracking on the head, so you shouldn't be, like, headbutting the TV. You can arm butt it, though, just fine.
You can umbo it pretty good.
Yeah. I think that system is probably the single biggest, like, peace of mind aspect of it that you can point to and say, I'm really glad it does that.
The thing that I like the most about it is it so far it works. As long as nobody's blocking the pickups, it works. I like that. You know, most new revolutionary technology items that come out, if you spend the 20 grand that it comes with a price tag attached to it or whatever, you get it and it's just god awful. It works for 5 minutes and you'll never get it to work that well again. This, so far, with a slight amount of hiccups, like a driver crash, which is not really a hardware fault at all, it's a driver issue. No big deal. It works. I can't really complain about that. So that's my major selling point so far. Not to say that the other systems aren't going to work, but so far this one...
Like, you were expecting it to have issues, just with the number of... There's the headset, and then there's the controller and the other controller, and the part that's plugged into the computer, and the base stations.
Lots of points of failure.
Yeah. And none of them
happened.
Failed.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of stuff in the box, you figured something would be broken. I mean, not that...
I'm expecting it to show up with a cracked face.
Yeah, you expected something to go wrong with so much expensive technology in one box and so many different parts shooting lasers at each other, and yet...
The lasers haven't hit the cat yet, so she's good. What was the second part of the question?
What was the most appealing aspect?
The most appealing aspect? I'm talking about bananas. The most appealing aspect of the entire system is the newness of the technology, really. I mean, virtual reality has been one of those things that's always like on the cusp of being usable and exciting enough and visually appealing enough to be there.
And yet, all at once, it seems like it kind of is.
It all just kind of fell in my lap. Like, they announced it. I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think, oh, well, I'll try it out as soon as one is available.
And then some idiot bought them and gave them to him.
These idiots.
Idiot Future.
Oh, shit. Blank name.
These guys know what they're doing.
We do. He's dumb enough to buy stuff, and I'm dumb enough to use stuff.
Because it really is, like, different. Because if you go from, like, a 1080p monitor to a 1440p monitor to a 4K monitor, it's like, oh, yeah, each one's actually the same thing, just bigger, higher definition. But that doesn't really apply to VR, because, like, you can't really talk about it in terms of resolution or frame rate, because an important part of the experience is depth. But not in a 3D TV sense, in a actually being able to move around a 3D object. Like, being able to lean around something and look at it from the other side is something that there's no hardware upgrade you can do to your computer to get that.
He said something about frame rates. No, you're not a part of this. As a part of the PC Master Race, there are no issues with frame rate. It's wonderful. I'm being flipped off by the cameraman lady.
90 frames per second.
90 frames per second is perfect because the reason why is
50% more than 60.
If you sit and play at 30 frames a second all day, and then you go to 60, you'll notice something. If you played at 90 frames a second on the headset, it's great. If you drop to 60, you'll notice something because it's right here. That latency that I was talking about in an earlier part, that has a lot to do with it. The frame rate has to maintain a certain amount or else it's going to feel very nauseating. It's not going to have smooth, fluid motion.
Just as an interjection question for Simon.
Uh-oh.
The frames per second is 120, is it not?
No, it's 90.
Is it?
Yeah, the screen refreshes at 90 hertz. The game is supposed to refresh at 90 frames per second. So basically, it's a locked frame rate unless something goes wrong with your computer or your computer falls below the minimum settings. So ideally,
PC
you should be
Master Race
getting one frame, one unique frame.
Plug it up to your
per
PS4.
update.
So, finishing off, as a PC Master Race member, you're going to have a good time as long as your PC can handle exactly what it wants you to. Minimum spec GPU, GTX 970. I got one of those. Soon I'll have two, so I'll talk to you about the SLI capability, the scaling, if you will even notice anything. Because if one can do it at 90 frames a second, I'm sure two can do it at 90 frames a second. But stuttering, will it be there? Go ahead and plug one of those into your fucking brick.
Which brick?
Whichever.
To also interject,
Oh.
There's a brick and then there's a
VR
cinder block.
will be running
I got you.
at just as much, yes.
With a system update. And by the way, which brick? There's one brick, the PS4, and then there's a fucking cinder block, the Xbox One. So,
Fashion brick.
fashion
Jailhouse
brick
block.
and jailhouse block.
Oh, we know how to sell these things.
No, we don't. It seems like the producer camera lady wants to argue with me more than my co-host.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, everything you say sounds reasonable. Fashion brick, jailhouse block. Like, yeah, you put them together, you have an upscale prism.
We
Closed
can
ecosystem.
leave this debate for
Metaphor.
a different time. We should probably cut.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll settle
Cut.
this. We'll
Cut.
settle this a
Cut.
different way.
Cut. Did you feel sick at any point using the headset?
No, not really. Felt pretty good. Subscribe.
Do you feel that this is the future? And is it more than a fad?
Probably, I would have to actually say no. I don't personally think it's the future. I think it is more of a fad. But I've been wrong before. Improved technology always comes around right after you start doubting something.
Because honestly, if it didn't have the headphone cable, like if it had been completely wireless and had weighed half as much and didn't make your face hot, you probably, I mean, you might be on the this is the future train. Just because having like an enormous cable coming out of the back of your head feels like a compromise. It having to completely like block out everything and make your face hot feels like a compromise. Like you end up with a series of compromises just to get to mostly acceptable, and when that's the state of technology, like it's hard to get like super excited for it when it's like, oh yeah, it's cool, but it's cool, but it's cool, but. And that's really, I think, where we're at right now is a long chain of it's cool, but.
Yeah, I'm being attacked by a cat. And that's very true. It's cool, but not where exactly you think you want it to be, even though you're not really sure, because it's new enough to be exciting enough to ignore the downsides.
And once that wears off, like if you've been using it for several days,
Like we have.
yeah, it's something that becomes more routine than it should for an $800 new thing that you don't really have any prior experience with. Like, it becomes normal faster than you would expect.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be a problem if it was like a Google Cardboard. Because, yeah, I got my free headset and my free app. But $800 for an exponentially improved version of Google Cardboard still leaves you with all right. And, I mean, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the product. It's just not perfect enough that you can be, like, no reservations excited about it.
I'll say something bad about the product. It makes my face hot. It's got a cable that pulls on the back of my head. It squishes my glasses against my face, and it rubs my fucking skin face against my glasses. It makes my glasses foggy. It gets on my last nerve, tripping over the cord. It has hiccups like driver issues. No hardware issues. I can't really complain. But it's fun. It is really fun. I can't stress enough. If you have $800 to pull from your bill money to buy this cool thing, you should do it. It is fun to play with, I promise. You will have a blast, even if the games seem a little short.
Honestly, the ideal way to do it would be to have somebody else get it for you and then go over and try it. So if you can get that arrangement, like that's the ideal way to do it. It's
Yeah.
like all upside, no downsides.
Except for the fact that I tore my living room apart and split my couch, and I can't sit in my normal spot, and my computer's got all these hundreds of extra cables poking into it.
But now it's a legitimate game room. Because it's a room you can't use for anything else other than games.
It's a virtual reality studio.
That's
Not a
right.
game room.
It's the studio.
Was the experience better or worse than what you expected?
I'll answer since he sighed. Better! I was expecting it to be god-awful. I can't lie. I was expecting it to have input lag. I was expecting it to have bad latency issues. I was expecting it to have connection issues out the wazoo. I was expecting it to... I could go on. Let him do something now.
Yeah, the reason why I sighed is because it's $800, and that really is the biggest issue, because there's as good as you expected, and then there's as good as you wanted for how much you paid. Because honestly, like, the entire tone of this video would probably be 30% more positive if it cost half as much. I know there's no way they could have delivered this product at $400 or $500, but if they had, we'd be going on and on about the amazingness of it. But $800 is just like right on the tipping point of...
I could have bought another computer that can play it almost.
Yes. Actually, yeah, you could have. You could have got like 2 VR capable computers, assuming you're building them yourself, for the cost of just the thing to do that. And so when you put the question that way, it's, is the Vive as, like, is it equivalent to an $800+ computer in terms of what you get out of it? Maybe not.
So in the end, was it worth the money?
Sorry for already answering that question. He gets to go.
Honestly, saying that I didn't buy it, I'm borrowing it because I'm the collaboration half. I provided the computer hardware, and
He provided the horsepower. We provided the hardware.
Yes. From my point of view, I would not have bought it separately. Regardless of whether or not money is an issue, I could have went out and I could have bought one and I could have played with it and I could let it sit, or I could have not. And I'm okay with not. I would prefer to spend my money elsewhere.
A second or third or fourth generation HTC Vive that has better capabilities and costs less might be a different question. But right now, it's first generation product. Everybody's still obviously kind of figuring it out as they go along. That includes us. Us, developers, the store, just everything around it is good but not quite in 100% ideal state.
So what are your final thoughts on the HTC Vive?
Oh, we both
I looked at
the
you
same
first.
time. Yeah, you turned faster. My opinion is that the cable is quite literally holding it back. Like, that's one of the single biggest things that I can point to and say, if only this were different. Because the cable is at the center of a lot of the problems. It limits the product in ways that it shouldn't be limited, given that they're making a big deal out of the room scale, and that's the thing you're going to want to tell your friends about. And the cable, it always comes back to saying, well, you need to watch out for this. You need to keep this in mind. Like, if it weren't for that, it would be easier to recommend.
The strap that holds it on your head, it could be aimed differently. Like I said in the earlier part of the video, it could be a little lower on the back of your head. I'm sure that was not a cost-saving maneuver as much as it was a let's make the strap kind of look cool kind of thing. Regardless, it does hold onto your face, but it would be very nice if it would hold on more up instead of like letting it drag down over time. I'm sure that in the long run in testing they had some guy named Gary trying it, and he said, you know what guys, it'll keep them from playing too long if it just falls off their face after about 2 hours. Maybe, but I doubt it. That would be my major problem because he stole my first major problem with the cable.
But in conclusion, like, that's really what it comes
Two
to.
people whose combined IQs equal at least 75 decided that the cable was bad.
We have...
Don't look at us like that.
Yeah, 75.
Sorry, if we're giving ourselves too much credit, we can lower it, but...
70?
Mental retardation is like under 40, isn't it?
I actually thought it was around 70.
Oops.
Well, we're 5 above that, if
Yeah.
so we're good.
That's like 30% more-ish. More. In conclusion, the issue is, I think, the hardware. Like, that's our biggest thing that it comes back to. It's not even the games, because obviously better games are going to come. There's hardware compromises that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable with how much it costs. If there weren't the compromises, I mean, yes, it would be costing $1,000, but yeah, the value for money for hardware quality. It's weird even to say hardware quality because it's not like it's bad. It's just not the kind of thing that you would expect to have to deal with for how much it costs.
I want to give 2 or 3 examples of exactly how great this product would be in different situations. If you're someone who has like family and friends that come over all the time, and you're the kind of guy in the family that always gets the new cool tech thing, and you're like, hey, Mom, come here and check this out, or hey, Jim from the office, come check this out. You can be in a virtual office. Things like that. Cool. You know, that's my first example. The second example would be immersion freaks. People who want to feel like they're in the game. People who play games like Skyrim, Fallout 4, immersive environmental games.
People that buy curved monitors and sit this close from
Yes, it's just like that. Not really, but kind of, sort of, a little bit, a tiny bit. If you like immersion, it'll get you there. It'll get you there and it'll take you back. But for a price, like we said, the price point is a difficult hurdle, especially when there is a stereotype that a lot of gamers are, you know, the fat guys and the kids who live with mom and they don't have any money. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It doesn't really matter. Neither of us are like that, so we'll go ahead and leave that summation to you for you guys to figure out. It's great. I honestly love it, despite the fallbacks. My absolute final thought is I wouldn't personally buy one.
It's 100% worth trying, though.
But it is exactly that. Great to try, wonderful to experience for the first time. It's just like playing anything for the first time. It's always best the first hour or 2.
So find some way to get your hands on one, use it for an afternoon, and then be done with it until they come out with an improved one.
Go to your local Blockbuster store and rent an HTC Vive today. You can't do that. I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
Blockbuster. Best Buy is actually going to have them in store, I think.
We're going to get flagged for calling out names of companies.
I can bleep over those. Yeah, just go to... yeah,
Okay.
that's a good
Or you
place.
could leave it.
I'll leave it.
I'm sure nobody cares.
Nobody cares about Blockbuster.
Pizza Hut.
Little Caesars.
Siddle Easers.
What are some other pizza places?
Papa John's is best. Don't go the other places.
Papa Murphy.
Sponsor me, Papa. I love your Camaro.
HTC Vive.
Buy one.
Not
or
sponsored
not.
by pizza.
Not at all.
Us. Not sponsored by pizza.
Sponsored by Steam. Not us. The HTC Vive. We'll call it that anyways.
Pizza sponsors. We sponsor pizza.
Yeah. If you want to give us pizza, that's great.
Yeah. We'll accept pizza sponsorships. I'll put like a little piece of pizza at the bottom, a little piece of pizza at the top. Like, he'll get some shirts. It'll be like the channel logo just made out of
Pizza.
little slices. Like, we are open to you sending us.
Speaking of pizza shirts, their shirt shop has a pizza shirt.
It does
and
have
this
a pizza
shirt.
shirt. And this shirt.
Link in the description.
And his shirt.
So I'll say my outro, then you can say yours.
Outro.
Remember, I'm Scargun. I'm from the channel Scargun. I do unboxings, gaming, shenanigans, and bullshit. So come check me out. Give me a like. Give me a subscription. I don't care. You can come see what I do. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I'll leave the rest of this video to Mr. Future.
This shirt is the name of my channel. Our channel. Camera Woman is part of the team. We do gameplay videos and unboxings, and that's just about everything. Wait a minute. This is a review. We also do reviews. That's an exciting development. We're not mind readers, so if you want to communicate with us about anything you liked or disliked, there's buttons in the bottom to make up for our lack of mind reading ability. You can also leave comments. I'll probably respond to them. We will, in the future, also be doing a combination unboxing review for both the Rift and PlayStation VR, and an epic 3-way battle between them in months and months from now. So if you stay tuned to the channel, we'll have all of those things. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that we will see you watching one or the other of our videos in the future.
Hold on.
It's...
Subscribe to me.
You could look like him.
Yeah.